Netflix's biggest show might be facing its biggest scandal. Behind the lights, monsters, and $400 million poured into Stranger Things 5, there's a story that no one at Netflix wanted the world to hear. It's not about an actor getting written off, or creative differences. It's about what happens when a beloved show becomes too powerful to fail, even as it starts to collapse from the inside. Word started spreading that Millie Bobby Brown filed a formal complaint against her co-star David Harbour, accusing him of bullying and harassment on set. Not in a criminal way, but in the kind of professional, psychological way that can turn a filming environment toxic. Netflix quietly launched an internal investigation before cameras even rolled on the final season, and according to insiders, it wasn't small. This wasn't just a quick HR chat. It was months of internal interviews, documents, and detailed testimonies that painted a disturbing picture of life behind the scenes of one of TV's most beloved shows. None of the allegations mentioned anything intimate or inappropriate. This wasn't that kind of scandal. But the power dynamics alone were enough to raise eyebrows. David was 41 when Millie first joined the cast at age 12. For years, he'd described himself as her protector, the father figure on and off set. He said he was fiercely protective of her, almost proud of that role. But somewhere along the way, that relationship seemed to sour. What started as a mentorship reportedly turned into control, tension, and eventually open hostility. By early 2024, sources say Millie was so uncomfortable that she brought her own representative onto set. Someone whose job was to make sure boundaries were respected and that she could do her work safely. That's not something you see every day on a Netflix production. Insiders say the investigation resulted in a massive internal report, pages upon pages of incidents and testimony that went back seasons. It wasn't just one bad day, it was a pattern. And the most unsettling part? Many of those alleged incidents might have taken place when Millie was still a minor. Imagine trying to act through emotional scenes with someone you've just reported to HR. One crew member described the mood on set as walking on eggshells, every line rehearsed, every glance loaded with tension. Fans might watch the next season and see heartfelt father-daughter moments, but behind those tears and hugs could have been pure dread. Some sources even claim part of the production's astronomical $400 million budget went toward legal teams, internal reviews, and private monitoring just to keep things contained. And then, out of nowhere, Lily Allen, David Harbour's ex-wife, gets pulled into the chaos. She had publicly criticized him before, even writing songs rumored to be about their broken marriage. But now, she's defending him. She's telling people he's misunderstood, that this is all being blown out of proportion. Fans are confused. Is she doing damage control for herself, or does she know something we don't? The irony isn't lost on anyone. The same man once praised for protecting young women on set is now at the center of a harassment storm. Meanwhile, the internet is split down the middle. Some say this whole thing reeks of exaggeration, an online witch hunt feeding off half-truths. Others believe every word, arguing that Netflix has a long history of protecting its biggest stars and burying uncomfortable truths under NDAS. The memes are non-stop. "Hopper really is like Papa," one fan joked, referencing his stern, sometimes overbearing character in the series. But behind the humor is a serious question. What happens when the lines between fiction and reality blur too much? And then there's the Duffer Brothers, the creators of Stranger Things, now under heavy fire for allegedly forcing Millie to continue working alongside Harbour despite knowing about her complaint. Fans are demanding answers. Did Netflix and the Duffers choose profit over protection? Millie's complaint reportedly landed months before filming began, which means every producer, executive, and director knew the tension before the first camera rolled. Yet they moved forward anyway. Maybe it was the pressure, maybe it was denial. But either way, it's left a stain on one of the most successful shows of all time. Some people inside the industry are quietly saying this is just another example of Hollywood's invisible shield. The bigger the name, the thicker the protection. Stars get covered, stories get managed, and fans are kept entertained. It's an old story, but it hits differently when it involves someone like Millie, who literally grew up on camera. Every frame of Stranger Things captured her evolution from a kid to an adult. And now it feels like her real-life struggles are being scripted by the same people who built her fictional world. Netflix hasn't denied the rumors. They haven't confirmed them either. Their silence says everything. For a company usually quick to spin PR responses, they've gone completely dark. And that silence only fuels speculation. David Harbour hasn't made any official statements, but insiders say his publicist is in full crisis mode. What makes it worse? Lily Allen, who once publicly blamed him for their failed marriage, is now defending him, confusing everyone even more. Some people believe she's trying to soften her image. Others think she's trying to protect him from something bigger. The fallout is already visible. Fans have noticed that Millie's been distant from Stranger Things promotions since Season 4 ended. She's still doing interviews, still posting on social media, but rarely mentioning the show that made her famous. Some call it maturity, others see avoidance. And with the final season premiering on November 26th, everyone's wondering what's going to happen when the cast faces the press again. Will Millie and David appear together? Will Netflix push them onto the same red carpet, pretending everything's fine? Or will they keep them miles apart and hope nobody notices? The online debate isn't dying down. One fan wrote, "If you didn't hear it from Millie, it's not real." Another fired back, "If she's under contract, she can't say a thing." And that's where this story hits the heart of Hollywood. Power, image, and silence. When a billion-dollar show is on the line, what's the cost of truth? Netflix may be hoping this storm blows over before premiere day, but with every leak, every rumor, and every screenshot of that supposed internal report, it's looking less like a storm and more like a hurricane. And then there's the irony. David Harbour's own past interviews are now haunting him. "Millie and I have always had a special bond," he once said. "I feel like I've helped her grow into the person she's becoming." Fans are replaying those clips, and instead of warmth, they're hearing warning bells. Even his divorce is being pulled apart online, with people wondering if his personal struggles bled into his professional behavior. Some even claim his attitude changed drastically after the breakup, that he became short-tempered and erratic. None of that excuses anything, but it does paint a picture of a man unraveling just as the world was watching him the most. The tension around Stranger Things 5 isn't just about what's true. It's about what people choose to believe. Some fans are boycotting the show, saying they can't support a production that might have ignored a young actress's pain. Others argue that nobody knows the full story yet, that jumping to conclusions only adds noise. But there's one thing everyone agrees on. This has become one of the biggest PR nightmares Netflix has ever faced. The real question now is what happens next. When Stranger Things 5 drops, millions will watch for the story, but millions more will be watching the faces, the body language, the chemistry between Millie and David. Every glance, every pause, every smile will be analyzed to death. Can two actors pretending to love each other on screen hide what's broken off screen? Or will the cracks finally show? Hollywood has always thrived on illusion. Cameras can make anything look perfect. But even illusions cost something. And the truth, no matter how buried, has a way of leaking through. When the lights go up and the final season airs, we might not just be watching the end of a show. We might be watching the quiet unraveling of the bond that made Stranger Things what it was in the first place. Because behind the monsters, the nostalgia, and the $400 million production, the real story might be far stranger than anything Netflix could ever script.